Should let his birthday up. He had so much fun like in high school. Grow up and die, but no one's gonna catch him. Show them what
Yes, on the period.
we weren't gonna put him in the show.
Yeah, I didn't get that experience. You're getting a moment. 2 hour long moment.
So you have no board here?
The smart. I like the
هذه How is second year so far? Going well. Huh? All right. Today, we will talk about thyroid hormone. The chapter is extremely long in your book, lots of repetitions, too many wordings. I did summarize it on the slides, but please, still, you are responsible of what? Of the chapter. All right? When I put the questions, I don't go back to my slides. I go back to the book, and I put the questions from the book. So, who knows anything about thyroid hormone?
Try either.
Where is the gland first? Anterior to the trachea and the larynx. Okay, how big is it? Like 2-3 kilograms? Small.
20 grams.
Does it increase in size, decrease in size?
Yes.
Good. Did you take the anatomy of it, histology, or not yet? Actually. Good. Thank you.
Second and twice the time.
I have it. Don't worry.
Mark.
What is the main function of the thyroid gland? And by the way, now you're second year. You're not first year anymore. You're used to the lectures at the university and you're used to my style and my lectures. No questions asked during this lecture. Write it down. We ask later on because I have to finish the chapter. So what's the main function of thyroid gland? Thyroxin. Why do you need thyroxin? Increase metabolism. That's it? Calcium, who said calcium? Thyroxin. Why do you need? Oh, okay. All right. The thyroid hormone, the main function of it is to secrete, the thyroid gland, the main function of it is to secrete the thyroid hormone. Thyroid hormone can be mainly found in two forms, thyroxine or triiodothyronine. We're going to see all these in details with their structures and their function. Now, when we say a gland in the body secretes something, we only think that this thing is manufactured inside of the cell of the gland, right? So cells will take something from somewhere, amalgam it, try to mix it with something else, and give us a novel product, right? Well, in the thyroid gland particularly, the thyroid gland cells do not fabricate the thyroid hormone. They are fabricated in an area which is a colloid. Part of the fabrication starts in the thyroid cells, or the follicular cells we call them, and then it continues in the colloid. Then the cells will take it out, process it, take it back, process it, and then release it into the blood circulation. All right? This is the cartoon, a histology of the thyroid gland. Those cells are in form of cubes, cubicoid cells. They call them follicular cells. They form like bags. Inside of the bag, you have a substance which is called the colloid. This substance is rich with thyroglobulin. What is thyroglobulin? Thyroglobulin is the basic substance. It's the primary substance that will participate to the formation of the thyroid hormones, in between the brackets, thyroxine and triiodothyronine. Are we clear on that until now? Now, thyroxines, you will see me talking about in abbreviations from now on. Thyroxines are abbreviated as T4, and triiodothyronine T3. Whenever you see me mentioning T3 and T4, these are the thyroid hormone already secreted outside of the gland, and this is where they will go into the circulation to the different part of the body to do their function. Now, this thyroid gland, definitely, depending on the activity of the gland, depending on the demand and the process of all the components that will form the thyroid hormones, it can increase in mass, in volume, or decrease in volume. Now, have you ever heard about a patient that has a problem with his thyroid gland? Yes. Yeah? What do they describe for him? Prescribe for him? First just iodine?
No.
Abdullah?
Radioactive iodine.
Radioactive iodine. That's right. So why do we need radioactive iodine, ya
So we
Abdullah?
can detect
To
it.
make the thyroid smaller.
To make thyroid smaller. It means the iodine is absorbed by the thyroid gland. Okay. Now we start talking. To form T3 and T4, we need iodine to be absorbed by the thyroid gland. So those follicle cells, as I mentioned to you, they have an apical side and a basal side. The basal side is where what? The follicle solution is. And here is the interstitial liquid. So iodine is actually absorbed by the small intestine, similarly to chloride. The only source of iodine to the body is food intake. Your body does not generate iodine. It's not a protein, it's an ion. You need it from food intake. Be careful in the book, do not make the confusions. Sometimes they say iodine, and sometimes they say iodide.
Yeah, the ion.
What's the difference?
Iodide is the ion, iodine is the element.
Iodide is the ion, and this one is the atom.
Element.
All right? Now, this iodine has to be, first of all, absorbed by the cell, right? How could it be absorbed? Is it by simple diffusion through the plasma membrane?
Secondary active transport.
With an A, co-transport with sodium. Where do you know this information from? You took this? You read it. Okay. So, with the sodium, it's a symport. It's going to go at the same time. Sodium and iodine, they go through the sodium iodine symporter, or abbreviated NIS. Now this symporter, it's actually in very need to energy. Where does the energy comes from to it?
The cell.
The energy will come from ATP. Where from?
This follicle cells produce.
The ATP is used by the sodium-potassium pump to pump out the sodium. So the breakdown of the ATP will give enough energy for the pump and for the symporter. So the symporter can bring back sodium plus iodine. All right? So first step, please, these are very important. First step in the formation of thyroid hormone is one, transport of iodine. So absorption, if you want, by the follicular cells. Now iodine has entered the cell. Now what will happen to iodine? Iodine, we said it's an ion, right? So this ion, as is, cannot go and do what's supposed to do to generate the thyroid hormone. So what you will have a phase of oxidation. So there are enzymes peroxidase. They need hydrogen peroxide, and they will oxidize the iodide. Iodide will be either nascent iodine, I0 or IO for oxygen, or I3 minus. These forms of iodine can go and bind thyroglobulin. So thyroglobulin is present inside of the follicle, right? But this thyroglobulin is actually secreted by the follicular cells. So if we go back here, this is the follicular cells. The Golgi, endoplasmic reticulum, and Golgi, they will synthesize what usually? Proteins, right? The endoplasmic reticulum makes the protein, and the Golgi will secrete it by vesicles, right? So once thyroglobulin is formed, is generated, it is englobed in a vesicle by the Golgi, and it is released where? By exocytosis in the hormone. All right? Now, this thyroglobulin has no iodide on it yet. The characteristic of thyroglobulin is that it has so many tyrosine amino acids. You know the amino acids? Glycine, tyrosine, leucine. This thyroglobulin has too many amino acids of tyrosines. Those tyrosines, the iodide, once oxidized, which means I0 or I3 minus, one of these will go and bind to the tyrosine of the thyroglobulin. So, first step in the synthesis of thyroid hormone, we said it is transport of iodine. Step number 2, oxidation of